Alrighty, so now we can move on to our chips. And we're gonna go ahead and guess that 100% of the kids are going to take a bag of chips. So we'll do just half and half, 200 and 200. String cheese is paired with that wow butter and jelly sandwich, but since it is out on the line, we can assume that some kiddos might take it. So let's go ahead and do 30 here. And then for our fruit, since our fruit and our juice combined, we'll either fruit, the kids need to take either a fruit or a juice, especially on this day since there is no vegetable with that pizza. So we can just go ahead and say that maybe a combination of, 400 fruits, including juices. So we can do 100 apples, 75 oranges, 100 grapes, and then for the juices, we'll do 75 of that fruit juice, 50, and then another 50 here. Okay. So I know that's not exactly 400, but that's okay because we still have the vegetables. And these are just my estimates. You can always, your kiddos best, and these first 2 weeks of school, you're going to be modifying things. So you can just go ahead and put whatever you plan for, and then this can always change on the day of, depending on what you actually prepare, which we'll go over next. Alrighty. And then for our carrots, let's guess that maybe 100 kiddos are going to take this, and then 100 are going to take the celery. And then for our milks, 100%, or the kids don't have to take every single item since we are offer versus serve this school year. So we're just going to go ahead and do a figure lower than the 400. So let's just say that maybe 75 kids take the 1% white, 200 take that chocolate milk, and then 25 take that fat-free white. And as for the ranch dressing, we're gonna guess that maybe 50 kiddos take that dressing. All right, so I went ahead and added values to all of my meal items. As you can see here, that reimbursable column is completely filled out. So I'm gonna go ahead and plan this. Once we're done with that planning stage, we can go ahead and add on the day of meal service. This is where you would go back in and you would add in the amounts that you actually prepared on that given day. So let's say, for example, that on the day that you had planned this, 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago, you didn't know that you were going to have a field trip on this day with 25 kids. You can go ahead on your actual, when meal service came around, you decided that you were only going to order 275 slices of pizza. Again, I'm just giving a figure here, so you can modify that here. However, for the sake of this example, I'm going to go ahead and keep all of my numbers the same that I planned for, just to make it a little bit less confusing, but just know that you do have that ability to modify, and that's why these numbers are shown in gray, just to remind you of what you planned. Okay, so for this, you'll see the different columns. So this is the offered prepared column. This is our reimbursable meals served. So this is pre-populated after we complete our row. So since I put that we prepared 300 for now, it's thinking that we served 300. But it deducts everything from these right-hand side columns. So non-reimbursable meals served, this is for adults or second meals. In the case of your schools, we don't do those. So you don't have to worry about putting anything here. You can always leave that at 0, and then discarded is just if you ever have to throw anything away. If something falls on the ground, let's say 5 slices of pizza fell on the ground or a whole pizza box fell on the ground, you would list that here. And again, as a reminder that it's in serving size. So if you dropped a box of pizza, that would be, 8 slices. So you'd go ahead and put 8 there. But again, for my example, I'm going to go ahead and leave that as a 0. And then for my leftovers, this is how many meals or meal items were left over. So this gives you that total of reimbursable meals served. So I'm going to say that I had 25 slices left over, and that means that I served 275 slices. of that pepperoni pizza. So I hope that makes sense with all of the columns. I'm going to go ahead and move forward with the rest of the meal items. So again, keeping these values the same, 75, zeros for that non-reimbursable and for the discarded. And then I went ahead and I only had 5 of these left over. For the wow butter and jelly sandwich, I planned for 25, zeros across the board here. And then for leftovers, I had 15 left over. And so that shows me that I served 10. For our chips, again, we're going to keep our planned figures, 0 and 0, and I had 50 left over of my Lay's, 200, 0, 0, and I had only 15 left over of my Harvest cheddar. For string cheese, 30, 0 and 0 for non-reimbursable and for our discarded section. And then for leftovers, I'm going to say that I had 15. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and use a random number, not a whole number, because as we remember, when we're counting our items after meal service, it's never a round number, or it's hardly ever a round number. It's often like, 8 or 12. But in this case, we're going to go ahead and do 14. And again, these are all made up values as a reminder. So I'm going to go ahead and do 100 for apples. And then non-reimbursable, 0 and 0. And then we had 25 apples left over. For oranges, 75. And then 0, 0. And we had only 5 left over. And then for our grapes, let's say that we served 100. And we had 0 left over. So just to pause here, we typically never want to have 0 left over on our production records at the end of meal service, because that means that the first kid in line and the last kid in line did not have the same options, because we ran out at some point. So that last kid in line didn't have all the same things that the first kid in line did. So it's all about equity with the national school meal program. So we want to try our best to never run out of things. However, we understand that those first few weeks of school, you're just getting to know your kiddos and their preferences. So you may have some zeros in that beginning, those first few weeks, but as the school, as the month progresses, we want to make sure that those zeros are gone and that you do always have enough of everything. So that's a note on that. So I had a 0 here. That means the next time I would serve more. So maybe you would serve 125, 150, or if you ran out like very early in the meal service, then you would definitely boost it up. For our juices, 75, 0, 0. And again, I had 0 left over here. So I would need to make sure that I boost up my apple juice quantities next time as well. 50 orange juice. This sometimes is not as popular of a flavor, especially at lunchtime. So I'm going to say that maybe I had 20 left over, and then 50. I had, in my experiences, wild berry juice is really popular. So let's say that I only had 2 left over. So 2 is still pretty low on there. So I would definitely still boost this up a little bit more. Maybe, 60, 75 and see how that goes. All right, for my carrots, let's say that I had, again, with my zeros here on these columns that we don't use. And then for my leftovers, I had 20 carrots left over. And for my celery, I had 15 left over. And my milks, so 75 here. I'm going to do these all together since they're kind of like blocked in a block here. So zeros across the board on the non-reimbursable and discarded. And then for my leftovers for milk 1%, I'm going to say that I had 25 left over of those. For my chocolate milk, I'm going to say that I only had 18 left over of those. And then for my fat-free milks, I had 12 left over. And my very last item on this production record is my ranch dressing. I planned for 50, and I decided at the last minute that, I know I said I wasn't going to change these, but I decided at the last minute that 50 was just not enough because kids love ranch with their pizza. And we also have that celery, which, you know, kids are more open to taking that if we have some kind of a dressing. So I went ahead and I changed that to 100 and then 0 here under non-reimbursable and under discarded. And for leftovers, I had 10 left. So as you can see here, my production record is completely filled out. We have zeros along these columns for non-reimbursable and discarded because in our case, we didn't need them. And then we have leftovers here completed. So we're gonna go ahead and post this production record. And it's gonna let me post it because it's not in the future. If I tried to post Monday's production record for this coming Monday, as you can see, I filled in all of the data here. I tried to post, but it gives me this little alert that says you cannot post a future production record. So you can only plan for the future. You can't post for the future, of course, because you don't actually know what you served. So just a reminder of that you can only do the day of, or you can, you know, the next day if for any reason you fall behind. But yeah, so I went ahead and I posted this. If for any reason you realize, oh no, I forgot that I had served an additional 10 apples. You can go ahead and unpost that. And it gives you that alert. Are you sure you want to unpost? Yes. For now, we are not using the inventory module on Titan, so we have the ability to unpost. However, in the coming months, as they're using that inventory module, I'm sure they'll let you know whenever that happens. We will not be able to have that ability to unpost. So I just wanted to let you know that right now you're able to, but in the future you're not. You may not be able to. But for now at least. So I can go in and modify and add I forgot that I had, added 20 more. So I actually only had 5 apples left over, and then I can go ahead and post that again. And that is all as far as production records. So you would do this on a daily basis for all of your meal services, breakfast, lunch, and snack. You never want to get too behind, so definitely do it the day after meal service because it just gets harder to keep up with all of the numbers. Your director has the ability to check what you've posted as well. So I just wanted to show you here on this calendar screen that it shows that I posted it, whereas for August 5th, it shows that I just planned it. Because I don't want to mess this up for you all, I'm going to go ahead and reset this so that when the time comes, the staff member at the Journey School is able to go in and plan and do all of this. So yeah, that's how you would complete your online production records. If for any reason the menu has to change, since the menu and the production records are connected, sometimes it might show you that there is no production record. So like, for example, if I go into here, it shows me blank. In this case, I don't actually have anything in here because we don't have school in July. But if I did, you would go ahead and just click that reset button and it refreshes everything. So you would go back into it and then the menu would show up again. Again, in this case, it didn't show up because we don't have meal service in July. So there's nothing in the menu, but I just wanted to give you that little caveat in case it ever happens that your production record is blank. You can go ahead and modify that on your end by clicking that reset. And if it still doesn't show up, then definitely reach out to Lillian or the respective person that will be overseeing this. But yeah, I hope that you learned everything you needed to complete these production records, and please let me know if you have any questions.